So this was a recent deployment that we did with a logistics company in Europe, and so they're kind of globally distributed across Europe, across the globe, in fact. But we were kind of dealing specifically with their European operations. So we went in, we installed, and we started having conversations with them then about, like, you know, what were the kind of critical applications for them? What were the things that were most interested in us, you know, helping them with, you know, managing and monitoring, safeguarding. So they told us about a particular application. It was developed by them internally. It's basically used for tracking shipments and stuff moving through their physical network, basically. So pretty much all of their employees that are kind of directly involved in the core business will use this application daily, constantly, in order to check the stuff that they're responsible for, that it's getting to here, that it's getting to this checkpoint, it's blocked here because it needs something, you know, and so they'll need to do some operation, some manual intervention to kind of approve something or seek some approval. The application is absolutely core to their business in that sense. Not used by external customers, just used by their internal employees. So they have various different ways of monitoring it, but they wanted to see what we could tell them about it, what we could identify in it. So this application would ultimately, over the following kind of year or 12 months or so, would be starting to handle, you know, greater and greater volumes, and they had no real way of knowing what was going to happen. Like, we started monitoring the various different tiers of this application. So it's a web application, it's something that people run in their browsers, and it passes through the usual kind of set of stages. Like there's a firewall at the edge of the data center, and then there's a load balancer that directs it to like a front-end kind of tier of servers, and then there's a message bus that those front-end servers use to communicate with back-end servers. There's a database, there's email clients, there's a complex web of components. So we started putting monitoring in place for all of these components and stitching them together so that you could see an individual user, you could see them log on, they connect. It's, technically speaking, it's a flash kind of thing. So they download something to their browser, starts running in the browser, it establishes connections back. Pretty much immediately we could see that the problem in a lot of cases was that the client machines, like the guy's desktop or someone's phone or wherever they were launching this from, they were just underpowered. So a lot of the time the problem was not in the core infrastructure. A lot of the time the problem was in the clients that were connecting to it. And you can see all that from analyzing the data that's kind of moving through the network. We were able to kind of track the thing down. We were able to see the packets flowing into the load balancer, the packets flowing out the other side, and we're able to see that the load balancer is taking these signals coming back from the client machines, and it's echoing those through. So it's the clients are pushing back. They're saying, we can't deal with the volume of data that you're sending down. The load balancer is kind of passing that signal straight through. The load balancer itself was fine. It didn't have any problems at all. It was just kind of passing that information through from the clients back to the servers. And you could see that very clearly because we had the individual packets. You could just look at the packets and see. This was in the first few days that we kind of deployed there, and it's just illustrative of the sort of information which is simply there, which unless you have a tool like ours, you're not making use of. And we've been doing that for some time, and that's becoming, I think, the standard for what people expect. But for a lot of people, when they first come in contact with it, it's quite a transformation.